I think it has to be impact driven. The sports industry should look towards how to create value to the society and the economy that they are in, rather than limiting themselves to mitigate potential environmental issues, which of course they have to take care of emissions and compensations. But I think that the core sustainability issue in sports is, as you said, it's all about public-private partnerships. Sustainability is about public-private partnerships, and definitely a way of generating long-term added value to stakeholders.
Welcome to A-Talks, where sustainability has a voice. I'm Pauline Lamouille, Chief Marketing Officer of Aplanet, and your host for today's discussion on a very crucial and timely topics, which is sustainability in sports. Today we're joined by José Carlos Ferrer Avila, a distinguished expert in the field of sustainable development. José Carlos has very large experience working internationally on sustainable development, with various governments, with the UN, international organization, and multinational companies. And he's here today to help us explore how the sports industry can take a proactive stance in sustainable development, in environmentally and socially responsibility. So, José Carlos, welcome to A-Talks.
Thank you very much, Pauline. My pleasure to be here. Well, first of all, thank you very much. I don't consider myself an expert. I think, being an expert in sustainability is very hard because legislation is just coming up now. And I understand sustainability as well as a new approach. Okay, you have very good professionals in gender equality, in environmental issues, in economic development, in sustainable development. But having a common and a global approach that can tackle the specifics of environmental, economic, and social issues is very hard, let alone the fact that, as you well know, the regulatory landscape is totally new. We are facing almost every morning different EU regulations, regulations, directives. So it is hard. It is hard to be an expert. I thank you very much for that, but I wouldn't consider myself as such.
Thank you. So then, can you define and explain a bit what is your professional background and why did you end up as a sustainability expert?
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Well, I have a background in international business and international development. Okay, so I've been always very concerned about social issues and public-private partnerships. As a matter of fact, I studied economics and political science, which at that time didn't match very well. Nonetheless, I think it is great that I had that chance of studying those two degrees. And well, I come from, before, as I said, from the international business. I was foreign trade advisor in India, in Turkey, and then I moved to more political science and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a advisor. Okay, we will edit this like as an advisor, but the most important part is when I started working directly in development cooperation, in sustainable development, where all this movement of sustainable development, sustainability, the impact of companies, how companies should work with international frameworks and supporting the SDGs, I think that gave me the background to create your Chief Sustainability Officer, which is the company that I lead now. And the idea behind all this is helping companies and organizations to create a positive impact in the environment, the society, and the economy that they operate in. I think that is sustainability. Again, if you were to ask me what is sustainability in a word, I would use empathy. If you are an empathic person, an empathic company, an empathic organization, you will consider your impacts and try to improve them. And that is what sustainability, in my humble opinion, is about. Trying to generate better conditions for the environment, the society, and the economy that you are operating. And if it is possible, if you can generate that positive impact through your business, through your regular business activity, that is what I think that companies are going to aim at in the 21st century, and that is the deal now. I would say.
So you're saying that it's a change in business model.
Absolutely,
thinking.
absolutely.
You need to integrate it from.
I think
from
we have
top
now
to bottom.
exactly two different business approaches. On the one hand, we have traditional companies that are trying to transform themselves into more sustainable companies. This is what we do. We help them transition that. We help them walk that path. And then you have companies that are born with the idea of providing a solution, a profitable solution to a challenge. This is the two models that we are seeing now, and I think it is not my sentence, but I think it's definitely we are in a transition from a business model of shareholders to a business model of stakeholders. I think that companies are not the traditional agents that they used to be. I mean, what are you bringing to the table is what stakeholders are asking.
Mm-hmm. So including the whole value chain.
Of course, the value chain is crucial now. We are I think it was yesterday or very recently, the CSDDD has finally been approved. It will start to be in the different EU countries in 2026 as compulsory national legislation. But the thing behind it is that the responsibility of the company does not end at the door of the company. Yeah. That is the whole point here. And I see it myself as the new common agrarian policy, if I may say so. What is the European Union looking at when implementing this? Is trying to break the social dumping that companies operating outside the European Union are benefiting from. So one of the biggest instruments that the European Union has is the market. So you want to be part of that market, you have to behave under certain rules. Yeah. And I think this is very good for all of us.
Okay. So given your background in economics, in politics sciences, and working with the UN, many international organizations, European organizations, and with the FRAG lastly, how do you think these new regulatory aspect will affect, European companies and the CSRD, the CSDDD, all these regulations?
Sure, thank you. Well, I mean, this is changing the landscape. The way of doing business is going to change. First of all, I think that the European Union has a very clear objective. All these regulatory tsunami, as it is called, like do no significant harm, deforestation, Green Claims Directive, CSRD, CSDDD, I mean, almost 30 different rules and regulations from the European Union have clear and simple objectives, which are, I think, first of all, is the transition from a very polluting model to a net zero one, to a model that is more environmentally friendly. They are looking for a decarbonization of the economy and the production process, and then the EU rule maker is willing to create a scenario where the stakeholders can make informed decisions. So all these CSRD, all the reporting landscape, all these, the objective behind it is that the different stakeholders that can have a say in what companies do can make informed decisions, so that through capital, through consumption, through investment, through lending money, this transition can be made. So this is the idea, in my humble opinion, behind all these regulatory, like tsunami or landscape, so that stakeholders can make better decisions, and through their economic decisions, through profitable businesses, change the economic system.
So they are just a tool. So we need to go from compliance to sustainability.
I don't think sustainability has nothing to do with compliance. For example, like you need to comply and to comply with EU regulations, but I think the market, the consumers, the stakeholders are going to very clearly differentiate between companies, institutions, organizations, proposals, models that are willing to bring solutions to the table in a profitable manner, and those that are just reporting. I mean, reporting is important. We need to report so that we can make clear decisions, but reporting is a tool. It is not the objective.
Yeah, it's not the end goal.
Definitely not.
Okay. So now let's go into sports.
Fantastic.
So now that we're talking of all this regulatory new landscape, the sustainable development of companies, European companies, but also the ones that are that have business outside of Europe, how do you think that this new landscape and sustainability regulation will affect the sports industry?
Thank you, Pauline. I think it's a very relevant question. It will affect the sports landscape, the sports industry, in different ways. First of all, we need to understand. We know that most of the sports industry is led by multinational garment and textile companies. So these are going to be key actors on the transition towards a more sustainable sport. So, and in the end of the day, these multinational companies or national companies that produce shoes, textile, balls, all the apparel that is needed to do sport are going to be very directly affected by all the European legislation. Then we have the teams, the professional teams, the professional practitioners, which are going to be affected as well, because all in all, they are private companies that make profit and that are going to be subject to the CSDD, to the CSRD, to the Green Claims Directive, to the Deforestation Directive, and therefore, as stakeholders, they will need to report and explain how they are facing the environmental, social, and economic challenges, and what is the proposal that they are bringing to the table. So I think the sports industry is going to be very much affected in these two areas, and as well in the organization of events, which is something that we do a lot. We support, we help event organizers in creating an added value, a positive value.
So it's key for sports to have a positive impact, not just thinking of mitigating or they need to adapt really, to get a positive impact.
I think so. I think that currently the Green Deal, the European legislation, national legislation, the trends are very much focused on mitigating negative environmental impacts, which is great. But sustainability is not only environmental issues.
Yeah.
And when speaking about sports, particularly sports event, sports club, professional leagues, I think that the environmental elements are important, but are not the key issue. the key issue in sports is how you transmit values, how you generate a positive impact on the society and the economy that you are operating. Why? Because a sport event has a CO2 impact, which is relatively easy to measure. But the social and the economic impact is not so easy to measure, let alone to generate a positive impact.
Yeah.
So that is why we try to help these events, these companies, not only to say it, but to do it. How can, through my sports club, through my Olympics, through my World Cup, through my games, amateur games, whatever, how am I generating a positive impact that is sustainable in time, sustainable in terms of economy? Okay, it's because the CO2 emissions or the GHG emissions of a given event action, it is important to mitigate that, but that is not very difficult. The difficult thing is that what you do is relevant and impactful.
Okay, so these events should have a good and positive impact beforehand, during the event, and after the event, and
especially after.
Especially after. So saying that, now that you have explained a bit, like, what do you think? Why do you think sports should adapt its model towards a sustainable development model? Could you name an event that is or has been sustainable for you, and maybe why? Explain why.
I think the most sustainable international sports event to date have been the Barcelona 92 Olympics.
Yeah. Spanish one.
Yeah, Spanish one. Not a coincidence, though.
No, and why?
Well, for many reasons. For example, particularly from the social and the economic perspective. I think the Barcelona 92 Olympics changed or helped to change the landscape, the structure of the city. It generated a lot of infrastructure that has been used through time. The infrastructures that were built specifically for those Olympics are into use as of today. I'm thinking about the swimming pools, the P. Cornell swimming pools, the Olympic Villa, the Forum. Almost everything is still being used and has generated a positive impact and a positive pole of growth for that areas. And as well, they generated very interesting critical mass. What am I trying to say here is that a lot of people contributed to the success of the Barcelona 92 Olympics. And we're speaking about the early 90s, which was not so easy. Not a lot of people spoke English languages. It was a challenge for the country, for the region, and for the city. And I think they were very much up to the expectations. So a lot of people generated a way of doing business, developed management skills, developed language skills, developed social skills that impacted the city and the region and the country for many years to come, let alone the infrastructures. That is why I think they were the most sustainable international event as of yet.
Okay. So maybe within the current landscape and with all the sports events that we're now talking about, the UEFA Euro 2024, the Paris Olympics coming on, the Tour de France, everything that are taking place right now, why, with all that you've been saying until now, why is it crucial for sports industry to really adopt to sustainable practices now more than ever?
Well, first of all, because we have a regulatory landscape that we did not have in the 90s, okay? And then from a more business-oriented or social-oriented perspective, these events need to generate value and they need to generate a legacy. in order for them to be impactful and relevant. There's no, what is the point of organizing an Olympic venue, an Olympic game, if that is not going to generate positive value to the people that live in that city, to the people that live in that country, to the people that visit that country and that city. We have a lot of examples of creation of infrastructures and events that have generated totally the contrary. So I think the idea is to generate formulas, and that is what we try to do with our customers and with our supporters and with our stakeholders, to generate a mechanism so that we guarantee that the investment is good for all the stakeholders and not just for a small percentage of the population.
Okay. And then maybe given your background with sustainable development goals, the SDGs, that are key, that are like framing the development of sustainability. And also I know that you have experience in gender equalities and different aspects of the SDGs. How can sports organization really incorporate these SDGs into their core strategies and operation, and particularly in the context of these big upcoming events?
Thank you. Yes. Well, I was very lucky, and I worked in the first SDG fund in UNDP in 2013, 14, even before the SDGs were published and were set in the resolution 70/215 2030 agenda and so on. So the SDGs are very important in terms of providing a framework of sustainable development. So they provide an agenda, they provide the item, they provide the objectives, the outcomes, and the whys. Okay, why doing this? Regarding sport, of course, we could speak for hours of the relationship between SDGs and sports, but there are 2-3 SDGs that I would like to highlight, or 2 or 3 ideas. For example, SDG 3, health and well-being, has a total link with sports. I mean, when sports and health and well-being, there's no need for me to explain. No? So how to use sports in order to promote that well-being and that health is clear. Another SDG that has a lot of relationship with sports, or that can be leveraged through sports, is definitely SDG 4, education. Why? Because sports is a very good tool to transfer knowledge, to transfer know-how, and to transfer values. Therefore, regardless of it being like a sportsman, a sport woman, or you name it, a team, whatever, they generate values. It is a very, very, very good channel of communication for those values, sports, and that benefits for the population. Another SDG that is key, I was very lucky as well to work in or with UN Women, and I was very lucky to be in a very specific team in partnerships and private sector, and we worked a lot with women and sports. And the impact of sports in sustainable development programs is huge in terms of reducing gender gaps, creating awareness for women and for girls, and to empower women and girls, which is what gender equality is about. No, the women's empowerment, girls' empowerment, and the reduction of gender-based violence. No? So sport was a very, very, very impactful tool for that. Of course, reduction and reducing inequalities, very much linked to what we have just spoken. And the last one, which is my favorite one, which is SDG 17, partnerships. I dedicate myself to generate partnerships, and I think sports is the perfect venue, this perfect field to develop profitable and fruitful partnerships for sustainable development and for sustainability. And for example, the story of the Olympics and the Olympic Games is a very interesting story that can be linked to SDG 16. No? We can speak about the Olympic truce, or how through or during the Olympics, countries, cultures have been able to discuss to each other, to talk to each other, sometimes in a how to speak in a subtle way, no? In a subtle manner. Okay, maybe during the Cold War, it was a very interesting venue to speak, and people speak through sports. No?
Okay, so it's a way to communicate.
It is a way to communicate and to establish and to generate the space for communication.
So maybe given your experience, in private, public partnership, but also I wanted to tackle sponsoring. I think
sponsors.
it's key.
Yes,
it's key in
definitely.
sports.
Definitely.
So maybe
sponsors.
how can we use these levers to maybe advance in sustainability within this sector?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That I think is a very, very good and very relevant question, because either the venues and the teams are going to push sponsors towards more sustainable practices in order to be part of their business model, or the other way around. Sponsors are going to push and to promote and to enhance sports practitioners, venues, leagues, events, in order to become more sustainable and thus being sponsored by them. I'm not sure where we are now, what is the equilibrium now. I think that, you have leaders in the sponsors and leaders in the venues that are but this is something that is going to come, and definitely sponsors are going to play the key role in the organization of sports event and in the transition towards a more sustainable sport practicing, always speaking in professional terms, in professional sports rather than amateur, but definitely textile industry, apparel, garments, we've spoken about that, is going to be key in the transition towards a more sustainable sport.
And regarding the private-public partnerships, do you have any example or?
Well, I think that when practicing sports, public-private partnerships are key due to the fact that we need public and private investment. Yeah. Okay, the creation of infrastructures for sports many times is publicly owned or publicly financed, but the exploitation and the practice of sport is many times privately led. Okay, so I think there's sports generate the perfect combination, the perfect formula for public-private partnerships. Plus, for the practice of sports, being it amateur or professional, we need the so-called public common goods, so the public commons, which are the environment, the water, the sea, the mountains. So I mean, it is so intertwined that definitely sports.
Great. And now I wanted to maybe tackle another issue, which is more environmentally oriented in terms of climate action, because we know that climate change, we're talking now about climate change, is affecting a lot every industry, but I think it will impact and affect the sports industry a lot. So maybe how can the sports industry adapt the climate change? Because I don't think that we should talk about mitigating only. We need really to adapt in order to reduce and reach the net zero objective. So I don't know if you can explain a bit more what is your opinion about this, and if you have, I don't know, any example to make it real.
Well, definitely the practice of sport, whether it is amateur or professional, has to adapt to climate change. The issue or the thing with climate change that we are witnessing now is the high level of uncertainty. So uncertainty is very bad for business, no matter what kind of business it is, and for sports as well. So in terms of organizing Olympics, organizing venues, leagues, if you don't have a certain level of certainty regarding how climate is going to behave, it is going to be very difficult. I think we're witnessing now temperatures of almost 47, 48 degrees Celsius in India. There's no sport that can be played outdoors with that temperature. And on the other hand, sustainability, if you have a good sustainability advisor, a good sustainability plan, a good sustainability strategy, what you are doing is reducing to the maximum that uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So sustainability is all about supporting and helping business and organizations to reduce uncertainty that is going to affect them. So that's how I see the relationship.
So what do you think are the relevant opportunities and challenges that you foresee for the future in this industry?
Well, as maybe you just said,
short, mid, and long term.
Yes, well, as you said, this adaptation. Yeah. I think that sports industry, what needs to do, leagues, teams, events, they need to understand what is happening in terms of environmental issues, social issues, and economic issues. Mm-hmm. And the more and the better they can adapt to that level of uncertainty, the more successful they will be. This is my opinion. So, I mean, winter sports is an example of change. I presume that, and this is a guess, that many winter sports are going to adapt to new arenas, if you allow me the expression. Like, I am already seeing some kind of... I used to ski on grass when I was a kid. That disappeared, and now it's happening again. I went to this very nice place in nearby Barcelona, in Catalonia, in Spain, and we used to do ski grass in summer. I think the grass ski is going to be all year long, okay, and maybe in a different model or with a different support. But definitely, the sports industry is going to has to rethink itself on how they are going to be able to be economically sustainable. And I'm thinking about multinational companies like ski companies, shoe companies, like, I don't know, athletic apparels. They need to understand that how sport is practiced and supported as of yet is going to change.
And if we integrate like technology to maybe take out these challenges linked to climate change, talking about, I don't know, winter sports or winter games.
Well, you can use technology. Definitely, the technology is key for many businesses and for all businesses now. And in terms of reduction of uncertainty, definitely, I think prediction models are going to be very, very interesting in terms of the use of technology. But we can see that, for example, now in Formula One, when they predicting weather conditions, that changes a race, and that is worth millions, if not billions of dollars. So you have an example there. You have as well the Formula E, the electric cars now. This is a change. They are adapting themselves. So I think that you can see already good examples of how technology is being used to this adaptation. Even what the example that I put you previously with skis, this grass ski was with with wheels. Now I think they just slide. That is product of technology, I presume. How you can use the same ski but with a different surface, so that it can slide in something that is not snow or sand. I don't know. Maybe we soon see a slalom on top of a dune. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. So your conclusion would be that they should adapt.
Think out of the box.
Think out of the box. That climate change is coming and we need to adapt in order to survive. That public-private partnerships are key.
Definitely
key, and that the sports industry at the end should not be seen like as a tool maybe to mitigate all the environmentally issues, but should have a very positive impact on the society, the economy.
Exactly.
And
I think it has to be impact driven. The sports industry should look towards how to create value to the society and the economy that they are in, rather than limiting themselves to mitigate potential environmental issues, which of course they have to take care of emissions and compensations. But I think that the core sustainability issue in sports is, as you said, it's all about public-private partnerships. Sustainability is about public-private partnerships, and definitely a way of generating long-term added value to stakeholders.
To all the society and the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Lastly, we always ask this question at the end of A-Talks. Who would you like to see in a next episode of this season?
Okay.
Talking to me here. Do you have a person in mind?
Well, it comes. One person comes to my mind now. Yeah. I would suggest a former boss, a current very good friend, and a lifetime mentor, which is Paloma Duran. She is currently working for UNITAR, the training and education agency for the United Nations. She's a former director in OECD DAC. She was director of the first SDG fund in UNDP. She has an amazing international career, and is one of the persons that better understands sustainable development that I know. And I think she could have a say in all this, definitely. Yeah.
So Paloma, if you are listening or watching us,
well, this is a small ambush. She does not know. I didn't expect the question.
I'm
going to call her now. But I think she definitely can contribute, of course. Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pauline. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jose Carlos, for those insights. It was very interesting talking to you about the sports and sustainable development. I think it's an industry that we haven't tackled yet in A-Talks, so it's very interesting.
All yours.
Thank you for being here, for your availability, and if you want to see more or gain more insights about sustainability, just subscribe to our channel to watch us or listen to us into any podcast platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. My pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.